Hi everybody and welcome back to my channel, Jewelry with Jen, and I am Jen. I wanted to invite all of you along with me to make a split technique necklace using this gorgeous jade bead I have. And we are also going to incorporate some wire guardians and some chain. And I thought this would be really, really cool. So welcome everybody to my channel. I am Jen. Welcome back and thank you so much to all of my loyals and my current subscribers. Thank you so much for your support. It means the world to me. And if you're stumbling across and new to my channel, welcome aboard. And thank you so much for joining me today. And you're using one continuous piece of wire. And let me put my bead stopper there. So all you're going to do, guys, is you first go ahead and feed your focal on your wire, like I did here. Let me pull this up, and then I'll pull it out of the way to show you. So I took my wire, and I fed my focal on it, and then I kind of tried to center that by putting my wire flush up at the top here, and then pull this jade bead down to center it on my wire. And then what you do is, keeping your wires together, you just feed one bead on, like I've done here. Okay, so keeping both the wires together, you feed your first bead on, and then push it all the way down. Okay, and then we begin to split. That's kind of what you want to do when you're starting your split technique here. You want to start your first bead to be a smaller bead, even a tiny spacer or seed bead, because otherwise it'll be like bunched up and you won't be able to split it out. So you do want to start with a smaller bead and then go from there. Okay, and so that's all I've done, is start with that small little 4mm druck bead. And then I'm doing a bead cap, and then the large 10mm pearl, and then we'll put on these chuck glass, one of these, and then another one of the larger pearls, and then a bead cap. And now that is hugging that little section. I think that looks really, really pretty. And then I'm putting on these little ivory donut spacers, and then I'll put on the gold bead. It's got a little bit of weight to it as well. So between the gold bead really and the jade, it's just a tiny bit of weight to it, not really heavy, but it does have a little bit of weight, and that's why I wanted to use the 19 strand. So that's working out well. Okay, and so then we have another bead cap here, and then I'm going to put on my 8mm ivory pearls with a chuck glass in between, and then we'll finish that off with a bead cap. And so there's that pattern. So it's the same pattern at the top and the bottom, with the smaller and larger, with the gold bead in between. And then the last, what I'll do to finish it up, is I was just going to use 3 of these beads here, 2 of the chuck glass, 1 of the donut, and then that is finishing us up off at the top. And it's just a very simple pattern, but boy, is that beautiful. And again, great selection to use something like a beautiful gemstone, and then some pearls to start my spring collection, simply because pearls also, guys, are trending for 2024. Many of you probably realize that by now. But anyway, there we go. So that's our pattern. And so what we basically have done is, as you can see, I'll put it out here flat, is we now have the split technique. And so now to finish this off and to add our chain and do our sizing, our measuring, and our cutting, is we want to put the bead stopper on one side, and we will work on one side at a time. So we will grab a wire guardian and a crimp, okay, and then one part of our clasp, since we are using a magnetic. If I can get it all separated here, we need one of our, no, we don't need our clasp, I'm sorry, we need our chain. Okay, gelled. Sorry, rewind. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do, guys, is we're going to feed on our crimp. And then let's put the wire guardian on. And we'll just let that crimp bead drop on down. And we'll put this wire guardian on. And then we will grab our chain. And I did not pre-cut my chain. I thought we would do this together. And you'll take the last link of your chain and feed it through that tail. And let that drop down onto your wire guardian. Okay, and now what we'll do is we're going to grab this tail. We're going to put it back through our crimp and our first bead. And then I'm going to show you how we tighten this up. And so now because we've done a split technique, it's almost like we're doing two independent strands. It's like almost like two independent necklaces. It's because you kind of finish them both off separately as you're observing me doing. Okay, so what I'm doing here is, you saw me, I pulled that tail. We've got everything nice and good up here with just a fingernail space, by the way. With the magical crimper, you do need a little bit of room. So I have about a fingernail between my last bead, the crimp bead, and the wire guardian. Okay, it's just about a fingernail space, so I can get in there with my crimping tool. But right here, what you want to do is, this is where you want to lay your necklace down, and you've got this guy kind of split out over here, and you want to kind of go here and look and pull everything down to make sure you really don't have any gaps. So this is where we are just being mindful that we have everything looking really nice here. Now when we finish up the other side, that's where we're really going to tighten that down. Okay, so that looks pretty good to me. And then I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to keep hold of that tail so we don't cross our wires. And now I'll go in there with my magical crimper. And the magical crimper, if you don't know about it, it's got a little tiny divot inside there. What you do is you put your bead down, or excuse me, your crimp tube down in that little divot, and then we will squeeze. And then that makes like kind of like a little ravioli. And then what you do is you begin to start turning around, and as you're turning, you're opening and closing your crimping tool. And what that's doing is, until you don't feel any tension, basically. And that's making that crimp turn into a round bead. Hence, you will not need any crimp covers when you're using the magical crimper. And as you can see, now we have a nice round bead. And then I can get rid of my tail. Oh, Gypsy's on the prowl, guys. FYI, we'll see if we can get through this without Gypsy tearing up our wire. She just woke up from her little nap. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we are going to, in the case of a split technique, we do not need to worry about, bunching them together. We do keep them split apart just like this. And now this is where, because I said I want to make like around an 18-inch, I'm just going to lay my chain out flat here. And I like to always finish my jewelry doing my chain flat. And I'll grab my measuring tape. And this is where you want to take, and you want to measure from where your split begins. So we'll measure from this bead right here, which was the first bead at our split. And so I will put my 0 there. And then I will follow this up along until I get to probably right below the 9, because I have about, I don't know, maybe 1/2 to 3/4 inch clasp. So for around an 18-inch, I'll go just below the 9 and cut my chain. Okay, so you just put your measuring tape down like this, and then we're going to cut that chain right below the 9. Okay, and so now we've cut our chain, and again, once I put the clasp on, we'll have a really good 18-inch. Here comes Gypsy. Okay, And so now to finish up the other side, guys, we're going to repeat exactly the process we just did. Hi, Gypsy girl. Hi, precious. Are you sitting here wondering what mommy's doing? Oh my goodness, you guys, she is so ridiculous. I cannot. She is so cute. I cannot. She's like, I have to be here, mommy. I thought I was napping, but no. I heard you talking to the camera. So I'm gonna sit right here and I'm gonna see, what are you doing, mommy? Oh, I'm sorry, guys. We need to feed on feed on our crimp tube first. So let's feed the crimp on. Oops, I've got two there. So we're gonna do the same. We're gonna repeat the same process we just did. We're just gonna make it a little tighter. We'll feed our crimp on first. Hope you guys don't mind Gypsy. And then we'll feed our wire guardian on. And then we'll grab our chain. And we'll pull that tail. Our wire guardian's on there now. We'll go ahead and grab our chain. And we'll find the last link of our chain. Feed that right on that tail. Pull that over the wire guardian. And now we will grab that tail, put it through that crimp bead and our first bead, and pull that tail through. And let's go ahead and pull that down. And we'll squeeze the wire guardian together a little bit. Their fingers. And I'll just pull that down. And now this is where I want to really pull this up and look and see. I've got a little bit of a gap, so I want to really tighten that up. Hi, Gypsy girl. Oh my goodness, you guys. You want to say hi? Say hi, everybody. I'm saying hello. I'm not gonna bother, I don't think, but I might. I'm not sure, but I really have to be right here with mommy to see what mommy's doing. So I'm just gonna continue to pull, guys, until that's nice and snug. And then just holding that tail, make sure I have the room that I need to crimp. And I'll go ahead, grab my crimping tool, and we'll put that tube right in that divot. We'll give that a nice squeeze, and then we'll go ahead and just keep turning that around as we squeeze our crimping tool until we don't feel any more tension on the magical crimper, and then it's going to turn that into a nice little round bead for us. Really, really cool. And I'll do a tutorial on the magical crimper. I think that for those of you that have not seen it yet or know about it, that'd be good to pay that information forward. And again, if you don't have a magical crimper, that's fine. You know, you can just use your regular crimping tool and then grab a bead cover, or excuse me, a crimp cover, and same thing. You do not have to have the magical crimper. Okay, so my crimp bead is now nice and round. I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of my tail. So we shall cut that tail off. And we're gonna do the same thing. Now we can either put this closer together. It's really just the preference, guys. We can put this close together like this, and then just match our chain up, and then go ahead and cut it. That is perfectly fine. It's really easy to do it that way. Or you can grab your measuring tape again, and we will slide that chain over the last link, and the other side of our clasp. We'll go ahead and feed that right on there. And then we'll go ahead and close that jump ring up, and we are good to go, guys. Just make sure you're really making sure your jump rings are nice and closed, which it is. What, Gypsy girl, you sweet baby. And let me just pull this up. Oh my goodness, Gypsy girl. And let's see, that's what we have. So we have a split necklace